So the streak is over. The streak of South Carolina winning the SEC championships is over. And this South Carolina team isn't what they've been in other years. Like, I didn't think South Carolina were that good last year. This year's team is weaker, is definitely weaker. And one of the biggest things that I've noticed is how big of a drop-off to Nia Latson to Malaysia Fulwiley is. Like, you've got here Texas winning by 17. Unfortunately, they weren't able to. Grace Prenter was not able to see the floor, so I can't go out there and say that an Irish player was on the floor winning an SEC championship. But technically, an Irish player won an SEC championship, so we'll take that. But like Texas shot 7 3-pointers. South Carolina shot 12. There were 19 3-pointers taken in this game. They tried to out Texas. Medina Okot is one of these players where it's like, some days I watch her and I'm like, okay, like she might be like a top 4 pick. And other days I watch her thinking like, please don't have her available at 10 because the Fever might be tempted to take her. For me, I like Tessa Johnson. I think she's a South Carolina guard. Raven Johnson, whatever about this game, I got to give Raven Johnson props. Like, she doesn't make it past 10 in the draft. She's gone from 3rd round pick last year, 2nd round pick, did a super senior season. Like, Raven Johnson has absolutely cemented herself as a guarantee first round. I don't think she falls past 10. But didn't make any difference today, did it? Like, Nia Latson, though, might be the most disappointing player this season. Like, Nia Latson has gone from, I used to call, like, last season when I was, like, putting tiers of teams, I called the tier of bottom teams lay down for Latson, fully expecting Nia Latson to be that number 1 overall pick. What she was doing at FSU, she beat Notre Dame. She hit that game winner against North Carolina. What she was doing at FSU was unbelievable. And that, you might be saying, oh, but like South Carolina is a better team. I'm like, yeah, she's doing nothing at South Carolina. I don't care that her efficiency is up. She's averaged 14 points per game. I don't care about her field goal percentage. Like, when it's mattered. Have you not seen is like her stats against good teams versus bad teams? Her stats against good teams, she's averaging like 9 points a game or something. Against like top 25 defense? I don't know what the stat is. But like, she's been destroying the barely D1 teams. And against good teams, she struggled all year. Turnabeze, as a freshman, is going to be a player. McKeer, I think she's a freshman too, is going to be a player. Like, it's not like South Carolina are far from done. Like, if we're being real here, Okot might come back next year. She might not. I don't think that makes that much of a difference for them in the grand scheme of things. But losing Malaysia Fulwiley to bring in Nia Latson might be one of the worst mistakes Dawn Staley's made. Like, this was a type of game where, these are the type of games where they're kind of grinded out games where a Malaysia Fulwiley can win you them. Like, there were times last year in the tournament, like South Carolina were not comfortable last year getting to that final game against UConn. They were not comfortable. But in the tournament, it really was. Like, there were times where Malaysia Fulwiley just took over by herself. Like, Malaysia Fulwiley was the best player on the floor yesterday. And South Carolina won the game. Fair enough. Joyce Edwards did well. Raven Johnson was fantastic, by the way. But I'm still, from watching that game, I'm like, there is one elite team, and then there's one player trying to drag their team to victory. And the fact that it was a close game, and Richard was great for LSU, but you could just see by just watching the game. Everyone knows when watching a game when it's like one team is the better team, but one player on the other team, just whether they're making shots or not, just isn't going to let them go out without putting up a fight. That was Fulwiley. She is still, to me, if we talk about talent in women's college basketball, she is the second most talented player after Sarah Strong. Sarah Strong, don't get it twisted. For her size, no, she's the best. She's just the best. I still think you shouldn't be winning National Player of the Year when you don't play anybody. When you're UConn, you don't play anybody, versus what Michaela Blakes did, going through the SEC gauntlet for a team that was expected to be like 8th in their conference and finishing 2nd in the gauntlet SEC. But that being said, like, this was a bad choice. This was a really, really bad choice. Like, and I think it should be a general statement where it's like, if you are a Tessa Johnson, you can go to South Carolina. You will learn. If you're a Raven Johnson, you will absolutely learn at South Carolina. Like, being that like traditional defensive point guard, which, I mean, that wasn't her when she came to South Carolina. But if you are a dynamic guard and that is what you project to be as a pro, because Latson's not good at anything else. She's not a good enough defender. She's not a good enough shooter. I don't understand how she was convinced that bumping up a little bit of efficiency and going to South Carolina was going to boost her draft stock. She was already in that number one conversation. She went to a school where her strengths will be minimized and her weaknesses, and she'd be forced to play to her weaknesses. She did a Hailey Van Lith. Like, Hailey Van Lith went to LSU and was like, oh no, this is what I'm weak at, so I have to go and do this. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. When you are at the pro level, you don't become a better pro by wasting a year to work on your weaknesses, by diminishing your strengths to work on your weaknesses. Very few people, especially undersized guards, and who are people that are dynamic scoring combo guards, can become jack of all trades players at the next level and become that in a year. That doesn't work like that. That's not what you're going to do. That's not, like, as far as adaptation, that a lot of time is a negative. In my personal opinion, Paige Bueckers becoming a better plug and play player is to the detriment of a lot of her strengths, which is why I like seeing her in Unrivals. It was to the detriment of HVL. Going to LSU was the detriment to HVL. She didn't become a worse player. It was to the detriment of HVL because she was playing with double bigs. She was playing in an old-fashioned offense. She couldn't do anything. She couldn't do what her strengths were. And as a pro, you are judged by how good you are at your strengths. You're not judged by how bad you are at your weaknesses. Like, that is basically it. Like, you can have weaknesses as a pro. And that's one of these weird things where it's like, oh, you know, pros need to just go and work on their weaknesses. One of the greatest rugby players of all time is Brian O'Driscoll. He's Irish. One of the top 10 greatest rugby players to ever play. And one of the things he credits for why he got to where he is was that when he was young, he was a player that was like very talented but had a lot of weaknesses. And instead of working on his weaknesses, he quadrupled down on his strengths, so that his strengths were so good that teams would build kind of almost around him to cover any sort of weaknesses and put people around him to cover his weaknesses. But his strengths were so good that he was irreplaceable. And that's what Nia Latson could have been. Nia Latson should be seen as a Kelsey Mitchell, as a Kennedy Carter with a good attitude. Like, that's what she should be seen as. But now we're looking at Nia Latson as a fringe first round pick who might not make a roster, and it all just comes down now to what's her confidence like? What does she want to do? Because as this jack of all trades, system piece, plug and play, she's not a WNBA player. As a spark plug scorer, she could be. And it's whether or not she's lost that ability to be the spark plug scorer that she was at FSU. So yeah, that's pretty much it, lads. I watched bits of this game. I'm not going to lie, I did not watch much of this game, but it was comfortable from start to finish for Texas.